It's Baltimore week. I'm excited about it. We're all excited about it, but I am not ready to fully let go of Philadelphia, and I hope you will bear with me for just a couple minutes today. Good afternoon. Good Tuesday afternoon. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is the new Double Shot Show. It comes your way every weekday afternoon. Steelers versus Ravens is Saturday, so it's a short week. The team was practicing today on the South Side, and they're getting ready for the game that I think, from my conversations with them, they really wanted to play a lot more than the one that they played in Philadelphia. Okay, that doesn't mean they didn't try hard. It doesn't mean they weren't focused. It just means there's something extra about facing the Ravens. Great. Awesome. We'll get to it. Me, I can't get past the fumble. Not because I'm going to sit here and finger point Najee Harris. It happens. Weird things happen in football. He's been spectacular at holding on to it, okay? I can't get past what that fumble did toward the feel that was in Lincoln Financial Field at the moment it happened. The Steelers were behind by only a touchdown, you might recall. The Steelers were moving up the field. Yes, were they a catastrophe before that? Unquestionably, for the most part. Certainly the first quarter was a complete catastrophe. They started to move things a little bit in the second quarter, and then halftime, some adjustments are made, and things start breaking for them a bit. Not too much, but somewhat. They're still just a touchdown back. And the flea flicker happens. Russ throws deep downfield. Calvin Austin makes the wonderful adjustment. Really does, too. Comes around the guy, the linebacker who'd followed him downfield, waits for the ball to come under the linebacker's arm and catches it. 31 yards. Great stuff, right? Okay. Next snap, Jalen, 6 yards up the gut. Next snap, Najee, 7 yards up the gut. Great stuff. Here they come. They're moving down the field. And you know what that felt like? Freeze frame here. You know what that felt like? Every other game this team has played this season, most of which they've won. Most of which they've won after all of us just got done watching a half of football that convinces us that they're the phoniest thing on earth. You're feeling me now, right? This script was incredibly familiar. Now, it wasn't to the people of Philadelphia, and probably wasn't to the Eagles, but it should have been to me and you. And it absolutely should have been and was to the visitors. I talked to the players about this afterward. They felt it. Not any sort of BS, not any sort of hypothetical, or not some, hopey, whatever, we wish this had happened. They actually felt it because it had happened to them how many times? What do you think was going to happen after the Steelers would have punched that ball in? Because they were going to score a touchdown. They were going to score a touchdown. They were not going to get stopped where they were. The Eagles were backtracking way too much. The Steelers had found seemingly some kind of hole up the middle. They had done just enough to stretch the Eagles out a little bit defensively with the deep ball to Cal. They were going to score a touchdown, and that was going to tie the game. And when that happens, everything changes. Remember where this game was being played, okay? There's no crowd on God's green earth that turns on their own the way Phillies does. And it would have been like, really? First, you struggled with the Carolina Panthers last week, and now this? Everything is different. Just saying. Don't necessarily look at this from the standpoint of the final score or what the final stats were. Everything changes in that moment. When we come back, we'll be joined by Chris Halleck. At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects. Joining me now, as promised, Chris Halleck from over on the South Side. Chris, the Steelers have the blueprint, little TM after that, on how to stop Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. They did it again earlier this season, but they'll always tell you in football that repeating is that much harder because now everything's been put on film, and now they can counter what you countered with. What do the Steelers do this time to shut them down?
Well, I think they need to try to do the same thing again. Now, the problem is that the last time they played Lamar Jackson, it was the first time they were playing Lamar Jackson with Derrick Henry. And so that's obviously a game changer because you don't want Lamar Jackson to wreck the game, but you definitely don't want Derrick Henry to wreck the game. And it seems like teams that have played the Ravens have obviously given more attention to Lamar Jackson than they have to Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry's ran all over them. The Steelers took the opposite approach. They went all out to stop Derrick Henry and save for one run, did just that. Derrick was not a factor in that game. Even though they were going to let Lamar, okay, you can have a couple of big runs, that's fine, but we don't want that other guy wrecking the game because we know how to contain you. I think it's going to be a similar blueprint in forcing the Ravens to play into what they want to do.
I think it accomplishes similar things, Chris. I think that if you go back to that last game and you look at the way the Steelers went in to contain Henry, it accomplishes the same thing because what your objectives are, especially from the edge rusher standpoint, is to just make sure he doesn't go left or right. By that, I mean Lamar.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're caving in on the running back and you're doing it from three directions, you're going to find a way to make sure that Lamar's not going anywhere either. And the key to that, of course, are the edge rushers.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. This is a game you really want to have TJ Watt, obviously, not only because of facing Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, but just the overall record when TJ plays and when he doesn't play. But yeah, absolutely. The edge rushers, especially when it is TJ and Alex, both of them, they're both really good at containing the edge, not letting anything get outside of them, forcing things back into the middle. And if TJ can't go, they have a pretty good group, maybe the best they've had. Maybe we'll see.
I just as soon as you said if TJ can't go, everybody watching this just went, whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, I spoke with TJ in Philadelphia after the game, and I got the distinct feel from him that even though he's not the doctor or whatever, but that he's gonna find a way. Now, on the other hand, if he doesn't, the Steelers happen to be blessed with a whole bunch of other options, as Cam Hayward talked about today.
We'll see. I'll be sending nights to his house, praying to God we get him right. But, getting lots of rest and get ready for Saturday.
Do you think you have a deeper group than maybe you've had in times?
Definitely have a deeper group. You look throughout the season, we've had a lot of guys step up in that position when Alex has been down. So to watch Alex, Herb, Preston Smith, and then, also watch Moon, we have quality guys that, could be starters on other teams.
Yeah, that's nice. You can mention Alex Highsmith, you can mention Nick Herbig, and you don't even remember that Preston Bleeping Smith is on this team and capable of making plays as he's shown in the limited time that he's been out there. Chris, the beautiful thing about these guys, this quartet of edge rushers, and I am including Smith, is that now that they have kind of conditioned Herbig to be a Steeler, meaning you're not going to be an edge rusher on this team unless you can, stop the run, going to the sides. They have so many different ways that they can come at you. And I think that's one of the things that makes the Steelers almost unique when it comes to stopping Baltimore. Unless you use the Pittsburgh model, in other words, you're not going to stop them,
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's interesting. That was the one thing. Like I don't want to keep harping on the same thing, but them going all out to pretty much stop Derrick Henry, where when they were running read options, where Lamar is literally holding the ball out there and reading the defense, whether he's going to hand it off or he's going to keep it himself. It's a simple read. If the edge rusher crashes in on the running back, you pull the ball and you run. They weren't even paying attention to Lamar.
No.
It was all crashing in on Derrick Henry. Teams don't do that. The Steelers did it. Now, again, they allowed Lamar to have a couple of big runs, but it was a couple. They can live with that, and they can trust the speed that they have on. Back in the second, third level.
They let Henry have the early, was it 20-yarder?
Yeah,
where he went through. But when I brought that up with the guys who were on the field for that play, they just went like this, because apparently they knew something that they missed.
Yeah.
And they didn't see that as some sort of schematic shortcoming or ooh, no. It was just, we know exactly what happened there, and it was solved immediately after. And it was. Yeah. So even that one didn't bother them. What about, let's take this from the other perspective, okay?
Yeah.
If you're John Harbaugh, and this part's crazy, right? That your arch rivals are walking around with the McDonald's secret sauce to how to beat your offense. And it's been happening for years. And it's happened to the extreme that the Tennessee Titans went into Baltimore. You know what I'm going to say here. And Mike Vrabel's walking in there somehow with a magical copy of the McDonald's secret sauce. And he beats the Ravens in a big upset. Mm-hmm. By doing the same thing. How is it that the Ravens have not found, an antidote for this?
I think, honestly, it's going to, from the coaching perspective, if I'm John Harbaugh, not Jim. Now you got both coaches in the league. If I'm John Harbaugh, I don't want to be
either of them, but
well, I'm just saying, like, you got to really focus. I understand Lamar Jackson's a 2-time MVP, but you really got to drive this home in his head. You don't have to be Superman in this game in order to be effective. Like that, I think that's the one thing that Lamar Jackson tries to do against the Steelers. He tries to do a little bit too much. It pays off on some plays, but then some other times he overthrows a receiver here. He holds on the ball for too long there, and the receivers don't get open. He's forced to throw it away or to take a sack he shouldn't. Just keep it simple. Use your legs. If anything, I would make, using that read option example, if they're going to crash in on Derrick Henry all the time, I'm doing nothing but run that read option and having Lamar keep it until the Steelers change things. Keep it simple. Let Lamar use his best tools.
I got another solution for you. I'm kind of hoping they're not watching, because I'm sure this is where they would pick up all their wisdom from. I would use Mark Andrews, and I would bludgeon the Steelers with Andrews, because they would not have an answer for it. Now, if you want to go back a little bit in Pittsburgh, Baltimore dumb over recent years, and I'm going to go back to Todd Heap. Okay. Mm-hmm. There was just never an answer. And it was the same thing on this side, where everybody was asking in Pittsburgh, how do you stop him? How do you stop him? And there wasn't a way. The other thing that I would do if I were Baltimore is I would try to stretch the field on these guys. One of the things that we saw in Philadelphia that I know was legitimately disappointing out of that loss to the Eagles was that the Steelers challenged their corners to go one-on-one with guys, and that did not go well.
No, it didn't.
Especially early on. And Jalen Hurts was able to go flinging deep. Well, Lamar can do that too. Now, again, the Baltimore people need to turn this off. Go ahead, Chris. Can they ever throw the ball against the Steelers? Why can they not throw the ball against the Steelers? Is it that they don't want to?
I don't think it's because they don't want to. It's just, I think Lamar is at his best, obviously. Like when he throws deep down the field, he does it best whenever he's able to move outside the pocket. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Lamar. He is a much better pocket passer than people give him credit for. But allowing those routes to develop and the anticipation in which he needs to throw, those passes deep down the field typically happen best whenever he's able to get outside the pocket, because then it's a little bit of improvisation there. The defense starts to break down, because as soon as he starts to move, the defense adjusts. They have to, because they have to prepare for him to possibly take off. And that helps open things up, and he's able to hit those passes downfield.
But the Steelers don't let him do that.
No.
Yeah,
No.
it's all about one thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's containing Lamar, keeping him inside the pocket. It's not an easy job, but they do a good job of it. I don't understand how they do it, but they do it.
TJ's going to play, everybody. Stop worrying about it. When we come back, J1Q.
Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different. Help prevent gun accidents, misuse, and theft. Keep firearms safe and secure when not in use. For safe storage options, visit projectchildsafe.org.
Time now for today's J1Q. That stands for just one question, and for that we go way to the south.
Hey, DK, David from Port St. Lucie, Florida. Is it time for Najee to admit he's not QB1, or was that fumble and the inconsistency caused by poor blocking? Thanks.
I'm sure you meant RB1 first off. David, I don't see that fumble as anybody's fault except Najee's. Let's be really, really plain about that. The pitch out call is awful. The pitch outs don't work, as I went over in the opening segment. But when Russell Wilson takes that football and he pitches it back right between the 2 and the 2, and Russ happens to be really good at those, by the way. You don't see a lack of execution related to the quarterback on those. For as much as I and a lot of us criticize them, it's never on Russ. Okay, he's been perfect with these things to the best of my recollection. But ball goes back. It's there. And on top of that, Najee himself stood there in front of us in Philadelphia. The whole bank of cameras and microphones and everything stood tall, I should add, owned it completely and should have. He said, I took my eye off the ball to size up who was coming at me. Now, I guess if you want to get really, really technical, is somebody coming at him because of a missed block or whatever else, you can do that. He's got to hold the ball either way. He's got to consume the ball and grip it either way. Now, I feel obligated when you use the term consistency, my friend, to point out that there aren't many running backs in football who are better at this, who are more consistent at this, meaning just holding the thing, than 22 is. He's got a special gift for not fumbling. And this goes back to his college days. It's really, really, really hard to get the football from him, even when you're in there doing that, that TJ thing where you're punching away at it. That's not what this was. He's human. He made a mistake. I just don't see that play as emblematic of anything other than just the lousiest possible luck in that specific circumstance. I appreciate you, my man. I appreciate everybody checking out the new Double Shot Show. Make sure you're tuning in every weekday afternoon, and we'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.